Dear friends, this is a short reflection. I was guided to do it, and I'm coming to you from my heart with no script. But today is a very special day for those who celebrate in the Christian Church devotion to Mother Mary, because today is the feast of Our Lady of the Holy Rosary. And as I look to you and look at you, I would like to share with you why so many have a great love for the Divine Feminine. Because it's my belief that not only is Mary Magdalena a part of the Divine Feminine, so too is Isis, Gaia, Kuan Yin, but also Mother Mary. And Mother Mary has an important message for us. Mother Mary, we know, gave birth to Jesus, the barefoot Galilean, who invited us to embrace a whole new way of living, a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of meeting challenges head on. And I know that many have switched off to my life and to the message I bring as an ambassador in service to God, as a modern day contemplative, a Franciscan, living in the world but not of it. They completely run. You can see them going into denial. But Mother Mary is a mother of compassion, a mother of peace, a mother who must be struggling to understand why so many of God's children cannot tolerate one another because they dare to be different. Whether it's the color of their skin, whether it's their sexual orientation, whether it is their belief, or whether it's because of class, maybe because they're too upper or too lower working class. But today when I was out walking with one of our dogs along a redundant railway track overshadowed by the most beautiful trees shedding their leaves, I was very aware of Mother Mary. And I asked her, what is it you would like me to pray for today on this special day of yours? And it came to mind her son Jesus, who gave his life for my freedom. And I am not your plaster cast saint, and I'm not your traditional monk, because firstly, I'm human, and in my humanity, I fall down many times, and I make mistakes day in and day out. But I do strive for perfection, but it's such a struggle at times. Well, it's a struggle for my ego, but it's not a struggle for my heart. Because in my availability and vulnerability, I just surrender the whole caboodle, lock, stock and barrel. And I come to my Jesus and his mother as I am, a child that is loved by God, a child that is forgiven, a child that is redeemed, a child that is valued and respected. But I know on another level, I'm very conscious that today Mother Mary is appearing to many of God's children, not necessarily Christian. And she's inviting them to pray, to fast, for the sins being committed in the name of God, by God's chosen people, by God's representatives, his priests, his ministers, his imams, his rabbis, and the holy men who say they are followers of God. And Mother Mary wants us to pray for God's children. She wants us to pray that they will be one, as Jesus is one with his Father. And naturally, as a mother, she had to stand and watch her beloved son being torn from her. She knew it was part of her destiny to give birth to him in a stable, bereft of all the trappings of success. And she watched him grow up, and yes, he was A teenager like normal teenagers, he had his tantrums, he had his moments. He wasn't the Jesus that's portrayed all holy, lovey-dovey. Yes, he had mood swings. How do I know that? I know that. And as he grew up into a young man, his love of God inspired many to follow a simpler path. Many of our great spiritual teachers have been inspired by one God, a monotheistic God, to embrace love. And today many men and women of different faiths and none are being inspired to go into the desert and satisfy that intense yearning, that intense hunger, and seek stillness in the presence of God, the one who is. But Mother Mary, being the mother of Jesus, was a human natural mother. And yes, she is Queen of Heaven, and yes, she is the mother of all beliefs and of all children. But she must be hurting when she sees so many of those who say they love God, but who tear one another apart through acts of unkindness. And the greatest sin being committed today is the sin of love, the sin against love, where brothers and sisters, in the name of God, are wounding the mystical heart of love through indifference, through spite, through selfishness. I know as a young nursing monk many years ago, I guess I was very immature then and naive, but I didn't realize, but so many of those in authority abused God's gift. So many were ego-driven, and so many were not. And the church, all the churches represent God's love. They talk about the Good Shepherd. See how he loves his sheep. Well, if that's so, then why do we find it so difficult to love one another as God loves us? Why do we find it so difficult to embrace that caring, nurturing, loving heart of God? So Mother Mary has asked me to pray today and offer up my little sacrifices, the pain in my leg, my depression, my headaches, sometimes my own fears and worries, and pray that all will be one, and that many will come back to their heart and embrace a loving God, that many will care sufficiently to repair the damage and the woundedness caused in the name of God. And we have a chance. We can put it right. And all we have to say is, I will stop being an unchristian. But as Gandhi said, I love your Christ. I like your Christ, but not your Christians, because your Christians are not like your Christ. What a terrible thing to say. But we can amend, we can change by surrendering our heart to love, by surrendering our heart to a loving God. And I hope I'm not preaching, because I've had to learn to love my neighbor. And it's in loving those that I don't like, have no time for. That's where the greatest commandment lies. It's not to embrace and love one's friends, just. It's to reach out and embrace those who annoy me, who test me, who make life difficult for me. Like two of my blood brothers who put me up on the internet as a scammer, and who were most unkind and ungracious, but I bless them. I pray for them. But that is the path of embracing wholeness and love. When we surrender our heart to God, yes, there are opposing energies that will try and stop us from loving God. But Mother Mary is our mother, and she is a loving mother. And I have a great love for her, because my natural mother is dead. So naturally I cling to her as my mother, like Francis, like Jesus. But let us join her today and make amends for the sins against charity, for the offences committed in the name of love. Let us make strident efforts to become peacemakers and kingdom builders, where the love within us for the one God will be reflected in how we love one another. Thank you for listening.